3 days before the wedding, the house felt unusually quiet. Ava was in the shower, music playing faintly through the bathroom door. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, lighting up with a new message. I wasn't the type to snoop, and I never had a reason to. But the preview caught my attention because it didn't sound like everyday talk. It said, "Just a few more days, you're almost free." Free from what? Curiosity felt like a weight pressing on my chest. I unlocked the phone without hesitation, almost on instinct. The conversation was with Nina, her closest friend since college. Nina wrote, "Once you get half, you'll never have to depend on anyone again." Ava replied, "I just have to pretend a little longer. He still doesn't suspect anything." My hands felt cold, like blood stopped moving. But I kept reading, as if I needed to be hurt completely before I could react. They were talking about me like I was an obstacle, not a partner. Like I was some stepping stone toward a better lifestyle. My name kept appearing, followed by words like naive, dull, predictable. I scrolled up, looking for clarification, but there was none. Every line pushed reality further away from anything I believed. Then I saw another name. Ryan. My best friend since 7th grade. The person I trusted enough to make my best man. I opened their chat like someone opening a door they already know hides something dead. Photos. Videos. Hotel confirmations using her email and his initials. Their conversations stretched back for over a year. Ava told him she felt nothing when she touched me. She told him she couldn't wait until the wedding was over so she could file the divorce. Ryan encouraged her, telling her to hold on, to smile, to play the part. They talked about my income like it was a prize. They talked about my home like it was already theirs. They even made plans to move across the country once the settlement cleared. I read messages where she mocked the way I slept, mocked the way I talked about our future, mocked the way I believed in her. Ryan told her that I would never see it coming because I trusted too easily. He told her that being patient now meant never having to work again. Ava called me predictable. She said she wanted something exciting, something that made her feel alive. Yet she was perfectly willing to take the life I built and claim it as her own. My throat tightened, but no tears came. It was like my mind locked itself to keep me from shattering. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't scream. I didn't call either of them. I stood there, staring at the screen, realizing I had been living next to strangers. Strangers who rehearsed affection. Strangers who memorized lies. Strangers who were waiting for the moment I signed my life away. And 3 days before the wedding, I understood what I really meant to them. I was nothing more than a final transaction, waiting to be completed. I didn't confront her that night. Confrontation felt too small for what I had just learned. I needed clarity, not chaos. I needed distance, not explanation. I walked into the bedroom, grabbed my keys, wallet, and laptop bag. Ava was still singing in the shower, completely unaware of anything breaking. I stared at the closed door for a moment, wondering how long she had been performing. Then I walked out of the apartment without saying a word. I drove to a cheap airport motel and paid in cash. The room smelled like old air conditioner filters and forgotten travel. But it was quiet, and it was not with her, and that was enough. I sat on the bed and opened my laptop. I copied every screenshot, every message, every picture, every call log. I backed it up in 3 separate folders, on both cloud and USB. I made sure there would never be a moment where someone could deny the truth. When morning came, I called the wedding venue. I told them the event was canceled. No explanations. Just canceled. They informed me the deposit was non-refundable. I said that was fine. Better to lose money than lose my future. I canceled the catering, the DJ, the photographer. Some refunded partial amounts, some didn't. It didn't matter. Every phone call felt like cutting a rope that used to tie me to her. Then I called my lawyer. We had spoken once a few years back regarding my uncle's divorce. He remembered me. I explained everything directly, without breaking, without anger. He listened carefully, then said the most important sentence of the day. Do not marry her. Do not reveal what you know. Let everything be canceled quietly. He told me to freeze the joint account before she could drain it. He told me to remove my name from any shared subscriptions and auto-pays. He drafted an emergency prenuptial agreement just in case she forced a conversation. He told me not to fall for tears, stories, or sentiment. He said betrayal rehearses its apologies long before it gets caught. I followed everything he said step by step. I logged into the bank and reduced the shared account balance to the bare minimum, just enough to avoid suspicion. I changed passwords for every financial platform and work-related system. I turned off location sharing on my phone. I ordered new locks for the apartment and scheduled installation for the next evening. Then, I reached out to the woman Ryan was seeing on the side. Not romantically involved with me, just someone he was manipulating for money. I wrote her a short message with attached proof. No insult. No explanation. Just truth. She responded with one line. Thank you for telling me. Nothing more needed to be said. By the afternoon, Ava sent her first message. Hey, where are you? We still need to finalize guest count. I let the message sit unread. Not ignored. Not answered. Just left in the open air, where lies dry out and die. The silence was the first choice I made for myself in a long time. Ava showed up at our apartment the next day. She had called me 12 times in the morning. I didn't answer a single one. When I arrived, she was waiting outside, packing, pretending to be worried. The moment she saw me, she forced a small laugh like everything was normal. There you are, you scared me. Why didn't you answer? Her voice sounded like practiced sweetness, something she had used before. I unlocked the door without responding. She followed me inside, still talking about wedding schedules and catering confirmations. She didn't notice that the locks were already set for replacement. She didn't notice the packed boxes stacked neatly in the garage. She didn't notice that I was no longer looking at her, just through her. Finally, she stopped talking. Her smile faltered. What's going on? The words came easy, steady without shaking. I know about you and Ryan. She froze like time stopped around her. Her first instinct wasn't guilt. It was strategy. Her expression shifted into confusion, disbelief, surprise. What are you talking about? But I had already seen this face before. Not from her. From every liar who gets caught. I repeated, I know. She licked her lips, searching for a narrative. You went through my phone. Why would you do that? Not denial. Not remorse. Just an accusation. I almost laughed at how predictable it was. You called me pathetic. You said you couldn't wait to be done with me. Her eyes widened. That was the moment she realized there would be no lie strong enough to rewrite this. She tried again anyway. It wasn't like that. I was confused. You've been distant. I didn't know how to. I cut her off calmly. You planned to marry me, divorce me, and take half of everything I earned. The truth hung heavy in the room, so heavy she couldn't move under it. Her voice cracked into panic. No, it wasn't like that. I didn't mean we can fix this. I pointed toward the garage. Your things are already packed. You have 10 minutes. She stared at me like she didn't understand the language I was speaking. Then the tears began. Not grief. Not heartbreak. Performance. She stepped toward me, reaching for my hand. I love you. I always loved you. We can talk through this. I stepped back. No, you loved what you could take. Her tears evaporated fast, replaced by anger. You're unbelievable, after everything I gave you. I almost laughed again. She hadn't paid rent in 2 years. She hadn't contributed to a single bill, unless I reminded her twice. Her version of giving was presence, not partnership. I walked to the door and opened it. "You need to leave." She stared at me, realization spreading like a slow poison. "You're really doing this?" I nodded. She grabbed her boxes with shaking hands and dragged them to her car. Before getting in, she looked at me with something almost like hatred. "You're ruining both our lives." I shook my head. "No, you ruined yours. I'm just refusing to join you." She drove away fast, tires screeching, trying to make the exit feel powerful. It didn't. The silence left behind was louder than any goodbye. I closed the door. I locked it. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to breathing again. I didn't stay in the apartment after she left. The place didn't feel like home anymore. Every room felt staged, rehearsed, contaminated by the performance she had been acting for months. So I packed what I needed, locked the door, and walked away from the life I thought I was building. I rented a small month-to-month studio above a laundromat downtown. It was loud, cramped, and smelled like detergent at odd hours, but it was mine. No shared space. No shared decisions. No shared lies. I bought a folding table from a thrift shop and set it in the corner by the only window. That became my desk, my office, my workshop, my shelter. I took a leave of absence from work, citing personal matters, which was true in ways no one could guess. I cashed out some stock options I'd been holding just in case of emergency. Apparently, betrayal counts as one. With that, I had enough money to survive for a few months while I figured out my next step. I knew I couldn't just sit and wait for the pain to fade. Pain doesn't fade when you sit with it. It grows. So I returned to an old idea I had shelved years ago. A simple productivity platform for freelancers and small contractors. Nothing flashy. Just clean, efficient, practical support for people trying to work for themselves. The kind of tool I wish I had when I was starting out. I worked from morning until after midnight most days. Not to escape the thoughts, though it helped, but because building something of my own felt like reclaiming something stolen. Progress was slow at first. The code broke more often than it ran. The UI looked like something from early internet forums. But every day it improved, piece by piece. I hired a freelance designer I found in a community chat. He didn't know my story. He didn't need to. He just helped the project take shape, form, identity. 3 weeks later, I launched a closed beta version. I posted it quietly on a few niche forums and freelancer groups. No big pitch, no advertisement. Just a link and a description. The response came faster than I expected. Not viral, just steady, genuine interest from people who needed the solution. They sent feedback. They sent feature requests. They sent thank you messages. I fixed bugs, updated code, refined the interface, and reshaped systems based on their needs. The project wasn't just software anymore. It was momentum. It was movement away from who I used to be. After 2 months, I had around 15,000 active users. A small but meaningful number. Enough to attract the attention of someone I once met at a startup meetup. He reached out with an offer to invest. Nothing massive, but real. Belief translated into funding. I accepted. I formed the company legally. I hired 2 developers part-time. The office was still my folding table above the laundromat. But the future was no longer theoretical. While Ava spiraled online, searching for validation and pity, I was building something real. While Ryan tried to charm his way into someone else's wallet, I was learning how to stand without leaning. The life I thought I lost was not actually gone. It was just beginning somewhere else, without them. Ava did not disappear quietly. People like her rarely do. When the wedding was canceled, she tried to control the story. She told her parents I had a breakdown. She told her friends I got cold feet. She told coworkers I couldn't handle commitment. For a moment, some believed her. But lies only work when reality doesn't contradict them. The first cracks showed when she started missing work. She spent her days crying online, posting vague quotes about betrayal. Her manager put her on leave. Then her company reviewed her recent performance. They discovered she had used work hours to plan the wedding. She had emailed vendors and browsed dresses during meetings. She was let go within a week. No dramatic confrontation. Just an HR email and a revoked badge. She tried to claim it was discrimination. But screenshots don't lie. Meanwhile, Ryan tried to hold onto the woman he had been using for financial support. The older woman who ran a small skincare business. He told her I made everything up to destroy him. He said I was jealous and unstable. But I had already sent her the proof quietly. She didn't argue. She didn't scream. She simply changed the locks and blocked his number. Ryan tried moving back in with his parents. They refused. He bounced from couch to couch, asking old friends for favors. Most ignored him. Some laughed at him. He eventually took on delivery jobs just to eat. I didn't watch any of this directly. People simply sent updates. Screenshots. Rumors. Little bits of justice unfolding on their own. I didn't enjoy it, not in the way people think. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like balance. Meanwhile, Ava turned to social media to rebuild her image. She posted black and white selfies with captions about healing from narcissists. She called herself a survivor. She claimed she had escaped emotional abuse. Comments were supportive at first, until someone leaked the screenshots of her conversations with Ryan and Nina. The ones where she called me pathetic. The ones where she planned the divorce settlement before we were even married. The ones where she admitted she felt nothing when she touched me. Her friends stopped defending her after that. People she had known since high school unfollowed her. Group chats went silent when her name appeared. She posted less and less. Then not at all. The last time I heard anything about her, she had moved back in with her parents. No job. No partner. No plan. Ryan wasn't doing any better. He picked up part-time labor shifts, temporary gigs that never lasted. Someone mentioned he tried starting a podcast about personal growth. It had 6 listeners. 3 of them were bots. I didn't celebrate any of it. The world just returned them to the weight they tried to put on me. They thought I would break. They thought I would collapse. But the truth is simple. They destroyed themselves long before I walked away. I didn't expect to fall in love again. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't ready for it. But life has a way of surprising you when you're no longer trying to force anything. I met Emily at a small co-working event downtown. She was presenting interior design solutions for small business spaces. Her voice was clear, confident, grounded in reality, not dreams built on other people's effort. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She wasn't pretending. She wasn't performing. She simply existed in her own certainty, and that felt new. We talked casually at first, just small conversation between strangers sharing a table. Then conversations turned into lunches. Lunches turned into late-night calls. Late-night calls turned into quiet understanding. She never asked about my past, but she didn't avoid it either. When the moment felt right, I told her everything. Not to be understood. Not to be comforted. Just to be honest. She didn't gasp. She didn't pity me. She didn't dramatize the story. She just listened. When I finished, she said something simple. Pain doesn't ruin you. It refines you if you let it. I realized she wasn't trying to heal me. She respected that I had already begun healing myself. We grew together slowly. No rush. No obsession. No dependency disguised as love. It felt balanced. It felt sane. It felt like breathing after being underwater for too long. She ran her business from her laptop and traveled for client consultations. She worked hard. She built her own foundation. She didn't need me. She chose me. And that made all the difference. 6 months in, I knew I didn't want to lose her. Not because I was afraid to be alone, but because she added peace to a life that was already stable. So I asked her to marry me on a quiet evening. No grand gesture. No staged photos. Just the two of us in the kitchen, soft music playing, the world relaxed. She smiled without hesitation and said yes. 2 weeks later, I asked about a prenuptial agreement. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I promised myself I would never again tie my life to someone who didn't understand fairness. She didn't argue. She didn't take offense. She simply said, "Of course, protecting what you built is not betrayal." She even offered to have her attorney review it to make sure it was fair to both of us. That was the moment I realized I had chosen correctly this time. Not out of comfort, not out of shared history, not out of habit, but out of clarity. And Ava heard about the engagement. I didn't know how. Maybe someone told her. Maybe she saw a post. Maybe the past always finds a way to look back one more time. She sent one message. "I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. Not because of anger, but because some stories are already over. And the last page had already been turned. The wedding was small, quiet, surrounded only by people who understood sincerity. No grand audience. No spectacle. Just peace. Emily looked at me the way Ava never did. Not like I was a resource, but a person. Someone to stand beside, not stand on top of. We signed the prenup together, both hands steady. No fear. No hidden intentions. Just clarity. I framed a copy and placed it in my desk drawer, not as protection, but as a reminder of the lesson I had paid for. The company continued to grow. We opened a second office. The product became stable, trusted, necessary. I lived in a life I built with my own hands, not one I begged someone to appreciate. Every now and then, I saw Ava's name online or heard pieces of her life through others. But her story no longer belonged in mine. Pain had once felt like a collapse. But it was. It was a clearing. A burning down of everything false, so something real could be built. I didn't win by ruining anyone. I won by refusing to stay where I was broken. And that was enough.